Hey, this is Russell, and I work at the video store, the place that we can go to every week when it's movie night. On days like today, when the store is quiet, I get to chat to my friends about the films and the series that we're loving. All right, let's do it. Let's open up the shop.
Did you see that thing yesterday on the TV? It was ready, interesting!
Good morning.
Morning, Russell.
Howdy.
Hey, we got a call here.
I'm back.
Hey, how's it, everyone? Welcome to the video store. Thank you for wandering in to this lovely video store. We've got lots of movies and games and stuff all over our shelves. And we've got ourselves a great episode today.
Yeah.
We've got ourselves a Graeme
Morning.
G-Force Hackney, who is an editor and very much the producer, the award-winning producer of
boy.
the show.
Officially.
Hey, you won the award for Best Production Quality at the South African Podcast Awards. And then we've got ourselves a Cole Matthews,
Hi.
who has been away for a very long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
How long was your trip?
Misa back.
Are you speaking in Jar Jar Binks?
My trip was fucking fantastic.
You were away for a
4
month?
weeks.
4 weeks, a good
Full
month.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's good to have you back, and we want to
Thank
talk
you.
all about it, because if your trips are anything like mine, you like watch movies in foreign countries and you buy cool like movie related stuff,
Yeah.
and you kind of see a city through its cinemas, which is
Yes.
a very unique way of seeing the world. So yeah, we'll get into it, but it was like UK, Scotland,
UK and Scotland.
UK and
That's it,
Scotland.
yeah.
Lovely. Okay.
I mean, England and Scotland, UK.
Yeah.
We make that mistake as well.
Yeah, I once had to sort of Google the difference, and I
Yeah,
think I quite
same.
proudly understand the
fair.
difference between England, Great Britain,
Yes.
UK.
It was all a bit convoluted.
Yeah.
It is a bit
And
stupid.
then one day you learn there's 2 islands.
Yes.
And you're like, how does that work?
Yeah, and yeah,
North and South Island.
yeah,
Like Korea.
yeah. There was a big ass war about it, Cole.
Yeah.
There were
It's hectic.
there were a lot of Cranberry songs about it.
Yes.
And there's a very cool movie coming up called Kneecap, which I don't know.
Oh, yes.
This is a nice chance to just talk about it again. A really cool movie about a hip hop group that sing in Irish Gaelic,
Oh, fuck,
and they've
that's
made
cool.
it like cool again, and they act in their own biopic.
Yes.
It's very cool. It's called Kneecap.
And also shout out to Dairy Goals.
Oh, I've never watched that. That's on Netflix. Hey,
It's a scream, dude.
is it great?
Yeah, it's stupid.
Oh, that's lovely. Another thing that's really cool and exciting is that the movie Heretic
Yes.
is coming out soon at the end of the month. This is the A24 horror that stars good old Hugh Grant.
Yes.
And there is going to be a special screening
Nice.
that is going to take place in Joburg on the 27th at 8 o'clock at Rosebank.
Cool.
And we are going to have some tickets that we are
Nice.
going to give away to you guys, the customers that are busy browsing the shelves, listening to us chat.
Fun.
Brilliant.
All that information is going to be announced on our Instagram.
Okay, so
So look out for that. And basically, we are going to want you to tell us why you deserve those tickets.
yes.
And then it's going to be nice to meet you and hang out, and we'll have a fat, good old time
Cool.
watching a horror. Remember the last time we did this, Cole?
Which?
It was for Talk to Me, and I spent most of the movie hiding
Oh my
in your armpit.
No. That was hectic.
Yeah, so I think this is going to be a repeat, and I don't quite know whether you want me to sit next to you. Please, can you? And
Oh, well, dude, I'll
and
be
please,
there for you.
And please, can you wear your hoodie? So before we get into some things, let's just talk about what we're going to discuss today.
Oh,
Cool.
I think the big one is Gladiator 2.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I was lucky enough to see it many weeks ago.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I must introduce myself.
Oh, yes.
Oh, Cole, we're not working at the video store. You're
A copywriter.
a copy. Is that what you've decided now?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
it's
you
the
gave
easiest
yourself a cooler
explanation.
title the other day.
Oh, did I?
You were like a creative copywriter. You're just a
Yeah, I'm
copywriter.
more creative than other copywriters. No, you can call me like a digital
Digital
copywriter.
copywriter. And then my name is Russell, for those who don't know, and I own the Bioscope, which is an independent cinema here in Johannesburg. And this is our Clerks Chat, where for the next 40 minutes to an hour. Let's see how it goes. We are uninterrupted by customers here at our video store. This is just us behind the counter talking about the movies that we're watching.
Yeah.
But yeah, the big one is Gladiator 2, which came out this past weekend.
Yeah.
I was invited to an exhibitor screening, so that's even before the press or the media, just me as a cinema owner. And I liked it.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. I was maybe a little bit critical at the time, but I also couldn't give too much away because it was quite far out from the release. But now we can get into it because you guys watched it over the weekend.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that. There's perhaps some other TV shows that I want to talk about. Any other big sort of main attractions?
I'm a month late on The Legend of Vox Machina Season 3.
All right.
But I'd love to chat about that.
Cool.
Okay, cool. All right. So we'll get into that. But before further ado, let's do our Hey Did You Guys See?
Yeah.
It's been a weird French week at the Bioscope.
Okay.
We had our sold out Joburg French Cine Club on
lovely.
Thursday, and then there was a French improv troupe
Oh.
that came through and did a night of improv comedy, all in French,
All right.
on Friday.
Amazing.
Sold out.
Fascinating.
That's so niche.
It's very niche.
Yeah.
yeah. But they're very popular in the French community.
Okay.
All right. Should we do Hey Did You Guys See? Then we're
Let's
going to
do
talk
it.
a little bit later about your trip.
Sure.
Okay, cool. All right.
Best for last.
Do you want to kick things off, G-Force?
Sure. Hey, did you guys see? I don't know if anybody else even cares about this stuff, but I'm interested in this stuff. Bob Iger is leaving Disney again
Whoa.
as CEO, or he's stepping down as CEO of
What does
Disney.
again mean?
Okay, so Bob Iger was the CEO of Disney. He stepped down, was replaced by Bob Chapek, who absolutely fucked it, and everyone hated him. So Bob Iger came back
to fix.
to fix everything.
How did he fuck it?
It's
he
kind of like
just-
the Democrats and the Republicans in America, right?
Kind of, yeah. Well, he was doing stuff like just Disney Plus was failing underneath him. He was using like either Disney Plus money to fund the parks or park money to fund Disney Plus, and it was just
Okay.
like just doing everything wrong that you can as a CEO of like a massive corporation.
Okay, just sort
and
of
no
steering
one
in the wrong direction.
yeah, and obviously like
Okay.
when that sort of thing happens, it's the shareholders who kind of step in and
Right.
say you need to get out.
I was about to say shareholders weren't happy.
Yeah, and then get back. Do you know who's a major shareholder in Disney?
No,
Is George Lucas.
of course.
He has like massive stake in Disney.
Interesting.
Really?
Yeah. It was part of the Star Wars deal.
Part of that deal, yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't just get like $3 billion. He got like a big share in Disney.
Good
Yeah.
for him.
He's
Is that-
also, I don't know if he still is, but he was like he was second to the CEO of Hasbro in terms of shares.
Shit.
So he had like a massive stake in Hasbro at one point.
That is wild.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Man
Yeah.
spends his money well.
He's got a museum that's opened up.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a big sci-fi museum. I've mentioned this before.
Yes.
I have a sort of a weird algorithm on YouTube
Right.
that mostly centers around construction videos. There's a channel called the B1M, which is
Okay.
like the best channel in sort of in construction.
Yes.
I don't know why I fucking love this as much as I do, but it's all about like superstructures and mega builds and
Right.
like big infrastructure projects.
Yes.
I don't know why. This wasn't a B1M video, but I get a lot of that stuff. But he's tried to have this. Well, he's built up a collection, George Lucas, of sci-fi artifacts
Right.
and things. And then they've tried for many years to put this museum in certain places. It was
Okay.
originally going to be in Chicago. It was then going to be somewhere else, and then it didn't work out, and now it's in LA.
Okay.
So-
Very space age looking cool thing.
Cool.
Oh, I don't know if this is the same thing, but I found the Lucas Museum of Narrative Art.
I think that's it. It's super
Okay.
space age. It looks like It looks like
Looks gorgeous.
It looks almost more Star Trek.
Oh.
It's that sort of very slick,
Very clean,
clean,
sci-fi,
rounded
yeah.
circles.
Okay.
Shall I read the quick blurb of it?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so with a growing collection that encompasses artworks from across cultures, places, times, and mediums, including paintings, sculptures, murals, photography, comic art, book, and magazine illustrations, and the arts of filmmaking, the Lucas Museum will explore narrative art's potential to inspire community and move people to think about the impact of our images on the world.
Right.
Lovely.
He's
Okay.
very romantic with his,
Yes.
like the way he talks about story and
Yeah.
like myths. It's really
Mm.
cool. It's like been a constant theme throughout his career.
Yeah.
hey, did you guys see Warner Brothers are selling 10 functional Batmobiles
Oh my lord.
for $3 million each?
Yeah.
Oh,
From
wow.
across the various Batman.
No, they're all the Christian Bale ones.
Oh.
Tumblers.
The tumblers, yeah.
That's
Oh
like
my
the
God.
most impractical one.
Yeah. But they do exist as
Yeah.
real cars.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to see them many years ago. I did a Warner Brothers studio tour
Okay.
in LA.
Mm.
And there's a room, and they're like, we're gonna go into the room,
Yeah.
and the guy was like, and they love it. They play it up. They're like, do you know what's behind this door? I was like, I know what's behind the door. He's like, don't tell everybody, and I was like, okay. And it's all the Batmobiles,
Cool.
All of them.
all of them.
Fuck, dude.
Like by far the best looking one in real life is the Tim Burton Michael Keaton one.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
Because it's that like super, almost
That
like Art
slick
Deco
area.
looking.
Yes.
That's fucking impractical.
Yeah.
You want to speak about an impractical car? That makes no sense. It looks like a little weird little submarine that's got like little fans on it. But yeah, they're doing it, which is interesting.
I have a really cool
Fascinating.
segue from that.
Yeah.
But not because a week after I arrived in Milton Keynes to visit my boss, he told me that at the shopping center they had a Batman exhibition in the middle of the shopping center where they had the Tumbler. They like brought it to Milton Keynes for some reason to the
Nice.
shopping center for an exhibition. And
Yeah.
then in London there was a traveling Batman exhibition that I missed,
Okay.
which was like all the shit.
Ah,
And I was like, fuck, there's too much to do, but we'll get onto that.
yeah.
So, hey, did you guys see that there is a new Beatles documentary coming out?
Yes, on
Yes.
Disney.
Yes.
Okay,
What's
we'll
it
talk
called
about
again?
The Beatles 64.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about the year 1964.
So when they
Yeah.
came to America,
Yes.
when Beatlemania struck the US.
Yeah, I find it amazing that in history, the Ed Sullivan show was probably daily,
Yeah.
but everyone just speaks about like that one night.
That one night, yeah.
Yes.
It's so funny how like history has just piddled it down to like that one band that performed that one show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But there must
that's
have
all
been
we remember
countless
it.
other bands that performed on
Yes.
Ed Sullivan, but they didn't break.
Shit.
You know,
Did you ever watch Rain?
Rain.
The traveling Beatles tribute band.
Oh.
They performed at Monty once.
No.
So they started off with the Ed Sullivan set on the Monty
Oh.
Casino stage. And they did the Ed Sullivan show set list.
Okay.
And it was fucking uncanny. It was a weird experience.
Yeah. Why was it called Rain?
I don't know. The Beatles person can tell us. Those people are
But
weird.
the one of the best things I read about the Beatles was the book Help. Funny enough, Gad, who works at the video store, he lent it to me. I don't think I've ever given it back.
Oh, no. You're one of those guys.
I'm one of those guys. I even invented an idea, which was the Get Your Shit Back app, where the moment you give something that like you hold dear to
You, like,
yourself, you
log it
can
in
like
the app.
log it,
Yes.
and then when it's time to get your shit back, you like press the button, and it just blasts the person with like Russell wants his shit back. No, I think I gave it back to him. I must have given it back to him. But it was a great book because it was not the fluffy propaganda about the Beatles. There was
Okay.
so much about that.
Right.
And history also, it's a little bit like Mandela. Like there's a couple of little dodgy moments in history that like everyone's like, let's not forget that he like cheated on his wife. You
Yeah.
know? That's both John Lennon and Mandela.
Yes.
But yeah, no, just to speak of John Lennon, I mean, there was like a whole bunch of out of court cases,
Yeah.
assault charges. There was a lot.
Yeah. No, these guys are messy, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. Okay,
There's
so
also a really good, just to say, on YouTube, there's a YouTube essayist, like video essayist, Lindsay Ellis, who did a really good video on Yoko Ono.
yeah, history
About
is
that whole-
history's coming back and being a bit more favorable
Yeah.
to her, which is nice.
Yes.
Hey, did you guys see that Conan O'Brien is going to host the Oscars?
Yes.
Yes.
It's a good
Yeah,
choice.
the 97th
awesome.
Academy
Yeah.
Awards, which will take place on the 2nd of March. And I think our episodes building up to it will start talking about,
Yes.
I think we've agreed, and perhaps I can speak on behalf of you guys, that,
Oh, okay.
well,
I didn't
correct.
vote for this.
No, well, just, you haven't heard my point yet.
This dictatorship.
That we love talking about the Oscars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we love using it as a chance to talk about great movies. I think I would like the video store's stance to be that we're all winners. There shouldn't be one winner.
Yeah.
But just to speak about all the nominees is great because it just gives you a chance to get into all the movies. I don't think it matters who wins.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think it's unfair to pick a winner. I think there should just be like 4 finalists.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
And it literally a lot of the time doesn't matter who wins. How many people win Oscars and then just go nowhere after that?
Sure,
Yeah, this
sure.
is
And I
true.
just think it's hard to just say, well, why, how is one piece of art better than the other
Yeah.
when they're vastly different? It's one thing if you're all swimming.
Yes.
It's like, okay, no, let's pick who the fucking better swimmer
And
is.
it's kind of like we're less angry about who won Best Picture more than the ones that were snubbed and didn't get nominated in the first place, like The Dark Knight not getting nominated for Best Picture
Yeah.
in 2007, whenever it was.
Yeah.
No, sure.
So that holds. That makes sense.
But yeah, it's a chance to talk about good movies.
Yeah.
And it's exciting to think like Conclave now, which is
Yeah.
screening at the Bioscope. Like that could crop up.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
A little while ago, we screened The Bike Riders, which was a bit misunderstood, but it was a great fucking movie. I think it's going to come back. I think it's going to pick up a couple.
Okay.
Okay.
Jodie Picoult. How do you pronounce her name?
Yeah, I'm sure that's right.
Oh,
She-
Jodie Comer.
Oh, Jodie
Homer.
Picoult's the author of the Brie Larson movie book.
Nah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
that's right. I see it on the
Yes.
shelf here. My brain is mush. But yeah, Jodie Comer, I think
she's great.
should get
Yeah.
a nomination for her role. Cool. G-Force?
Hey, did you guys see the trailer for The Penguin Lessons?
What?
I saw it come up. I didn't watch it.
My note here is looks very Russell.
Nah.
So this is Peter Cantaneo, I think his name is. So the guy who did The Full Monty.
Okay.
You spoke about something of his else fairly recently, something else that he did a few months ago. I can't remember what it was, but this is Steve Coogan, and it's based on a true story about an English teacher teaching in, I think, Argentina in the 1970s, like as things were like, there was a bit of a
Getting hectic.
political coup happening of sorts. But he rescues, this is a true story, he rescues a penguin on a beach from an oil spill, and this penguin like attaches itself to him.
Like an imprint.
Yes,
Yeah.
like
Oh
it
my
imprints
God.
on him. So it's following him around all over the place, and he has to like take care of this penguin while trying to be an English teacher in Argentina or Venezuela. It's Argentina or Venezuela.
Yeah.
But it looks very sweet and very gooey
Oh,
and very
gooey.
Russell.
Cole, a little introduction. We are now using the word gooey.
Okay.
Just to give you a little background. It was my only way to describe whether or not a film is kind of moving me.
Yes, makes
And
you
it
feel
feels
gooey.
it makes your sort of insides go mushy.
Yes.
Hey, you know that feeling.
Very on brand for you.
Right.
Yeah.
We should do our favorite gooey movies episode.
Yeah, yeah. I
love that.
got the gooeys on the plane watching the movie Sing Sing, Cole.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my god,
It looks so good.
Really?
It's so good. Yeah, we spoke about it a bit last week, but
Mm.
it's a film that didn't really come to South Africa, but it's all set
Yeah.
in the prison, Sing
Yeah.
Sing, where a bunch of prisoners do these plays. So it's all about the beauty of creating art and the mental state of being incarcerated, and fuck, it's good.
That looks wonderful.
And Coleman Domingo is my pick currently. He's my, if we have a fantasy league, fantasy Oscar league, he's my pick for best actor. I don't have any more. You guys got more?
I got a couple. We can do one or two. Okay, let's do a brief one. Last week, how did you guys see last week? I mentioned they're making 2 new Predator movies.
Yes.
Dan Trachtenberg is directing both of them.
Okay.
And they've given tiny little details on the one Predator Badlands, which is the one we know a little bit more about. The Predator is going to be the main character.
Oh,
So the movie's going to be from like the Predator's perspective,
Okay.
interesting.
which is cool.
That's gonna be like what silent movie vibes, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Foley artist has got lots of work.
I think that's going to be cool. And then
That's interesting.
yeah, I think that's going to be cool. That's kind of all we know about this movie at this point in time, which is interesting as well. But okay, this isn't really movie related. I just think it's very funny.
Yeah.
Hey, did you guys see that The Onion bought InfoWars?
Okay.
What's
what is that?
InfoWars?
So
is it?
InfoWars is Alex Jones's like
Oh, that's what
platform.
I thought. Oh,
So Alex Jones is this right wing
lunatic. Yeah.
with his whole network is called InfoWars.
Yes.
And as
Wasn't
part
he,
of
didn't he like get almost arrested or charged?
well, he has been he was charged.
It's
They
like
took him to
defamation
court.
charges.
It was
for
the
Sandy Hook.
parents, the parents of the Sandy Hook kids who he
Yes.
said were crisis actors. and he was ordered to pay them like $1 billion.
Yeah.
And part of that is seizing all of his assets. And one of those was InfoWars, which is a big like right-wing propaganda thing.
Yeah.
And now the satirical website, satirical news website, the Onion, has bought InfoWars.
Do you think
Oh,
they've
that is
bought it to
hilarious.
sort of squash it?
No, they're going to like turn it into like an information website now. So it's going to do the exact opposite of what InfoWars was doing, of spreading like right-wing propaganda.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think that is so
genius.
good.
That
Yeah.
is fucking
So, of like
hilarious.
all the places to get it, the
Exactly.
Onion. So funny.
Interesting.
I love
It's
it.
like
that
if they
is
said
good.
Joe Rogan bought, that would have made a little bit more sense.
Joe Rogan bought CNN. You know, that's like the equivalent.
Love it. Should we get into some movies?
Let's
Yeah.
do it.
Okay. Guys, tell me about your Gladiator 2 experience.
Yeah.
Did you dress up like Romans and
Sure.
you guys missed the
Threw on a
chance to go
toga.
you guys missed the chance to go to the premiere. It happened while I was away, while I was on
Yes.
honeymoon.
Yeah.
You guys could have met Drickus.
Wow.
I'm just fucking saying.
Really?
Yeah. No, they did it at Emperor's Palace, which
That's
makes
why I
sense.
didn't go, because I didn't want to drive all the way to Emperor's Palace.
Yeah, and I mean, I wouldn't have wanted to go to Emperor's any other time
Yes.
except for some Roman reenactment. I mean, but Monte Cassino makes just as much sense.
Kind of
Yes.
does. It's close. There's enough of
But
a
they
link there.
obviously couldn't book Monty,
Yeah.
so they did it at Emperor's,
Mm.
which is horrible. Can I tell you the one and only time I ever went to Emperor's?
Yeah.
In the lift, some other dude was like, "We're gonna have a bicky double," like to me, and I was like, "What?
Karate juice,
Excuse me?"
brandy and coke.
Yeah, he's like, "We're going for a bicky double." I'm like, "No, fuck." And what I ended up doing,
Jesus.
it was with my ex to meet her dad and meet her dad's new girlfriend.
Nice.
And we went to the Hooters, and she told me about how much she loves drag racing. And I was
Nice.
like, "This is a moment. This is a moment. This can only happen here."
Stepped into a portal, dude.
Yeah, either here or Four Ways. It's amazing
Yeah,
how similar
exactly.
those two are.
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah, we did the Billy Joel songbook with Jonathan Rocksmith, and we did like 5 shows. I think it was just the Friday nights and 2 Saturday, 1 Sunday.
Okay.
So 3 days. Oh no, it would have been like from the Wednesday. 5 days straight. I had to drive to Emperor's Palace and
You
back.
see.
Yeah.
Fucking worst 5 days of my life. It was terrible.
All right, but tell me about your thoughts and feelings.
Fan of Denzel.
Oh, he was great, dude.
Yeah.
He
Chewing
was
it up.
cool, and I think
He showed up.
Yeah.
I think people are touting him for something for some award love.
I think there's
He was just very much Denzel Washington to me, so I don't think it was a stretch.
yes. I think it's interesting to come into a space that is iconic like Gladiator.
Yes.
You know, where you have an iconic role from Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah.
The like one of 2 roles that everyone recognizes Richard Harris from.
Yeah.
You know, Russell Crowe's ultimate role.
Yeah,
And then you have to step into that realm and kind of differentiate it enough.
Yes.
I think Denzel did that. I think the twink emperors
Yes.
did that. You know? And fun as hell. There was 1 or 2 moments where he kind of overindulged. He was like, that is politics.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm not buying this.
But-
you're doing like acting things.
But overall, as a movie,
I think that it is a bloody good time out.
Yeah. I agree.
yeah,
I
that's
think
the
it's-
way I've said it to
it's
people.
fun.
It's a good, solid, big blockbuster movie.
Yeah.
I came out of it at the time. I don't know whether you were working the shift when I had seen it,
No.
but it was quite hard for me because I was like, it's good. It's fucking big, epic,
Yeah.
fucking Romans, rhinos, and sharks, which we must talk about, by the way. We must talk about these
Yeah.
bloody
fucking
sharks. But it left me a little like,
Yeah, that's fair enough.
And I think this is an interesting thing because I rewatched Gladiator with Michael recently.
okay, what was that like?
And I was like, oh, Gladiator's time has come and gone for me.
Oh, you think so?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I watched it and I was like, oh, this is dated. This is old. I'm not excited about this anymore.
Right.
It
Well, I
didn't
think-
have any emotional impact on me. I've listened to the soundtrack a bajillion times.
Okay.
And I
Going,
was just like, it just felt old and gone.
recreating the Colosseum with a sort of it was 20 years ago, right? The first one. So we finally had the sort of CGI
Yes.
to sort of properly do this on the grandest, biggest scale, which they did. That was awesome.
Yeah.
When you see it the second time, you're like, cool,
Yeah.
cool. I remember this.
See, I watched it last night. I watched the original Gladiator last night for
Oh,
a
nice.
comparison. I loved it.
Really?
No,
I loved going back to it.
It is cool, and perhaps here's my one argument is that there was such a solid good and bad in the first one.
All right.
Hey? And there was a real solid, like, this is the bad guy.
Yeah.
Let's take 2.5 hours
Yes.
to mount your hate
Right.
for the one guy.
Yes.
Yeah, this is true.
Where in Gladiator 2, it was a bit like you got to shift yourself. You know, and then you realize, like, oh, the bad guy's actually like a good guy.
Yeah,
And
there's a
then-
lot
then
of
there-
chess pieces
then
on
there,
the board.
Then there are those bad guys, but then they die. But then, oh shit, here's the other bad guy.
Yes.
Yes.
Where it, but I mean, I wouldn't have wanted it to be the same because then it would have really been the same movie. Because
Absolutely.
over on the other side, the character arcs were exactly the same.
Yeah.
You had a dude who was forced to be a gladiator, and he's super strong, and he's
Yes.
the best, and works his way up.
Yeah, exactly. And it started to feel a lot like Gladiator. We were saying this.
Yes.
That how do you like take a revenge story about a gladiator and make a difference from Spartacus to Gladiator 2?
Yeah.
And we said that, and this might be a bit of a spoiler, try not to spoil it for you guys.
Yeah.
But Denzel Washington's character is very much taking that theme of revenge and unpacking it in a different direction. There's like the justice of what happened to Paul Mescal, and I have opinions about his character arc.
Yeah.
But Denzel Washington's character kind of takes it towards ambition. It's like revenge for the sake of colored. You said to me yesterday, colored with ambition.
Yeah.
Which was really nice.
Interesting. I mean, to me, so I was lucky enough to go to Rome earlier this year. Well, not earlier, like a month or two ago. I went away to Italy with my family, and it was really cool to see the Roman Forum and the Colosseum and stand in it and all this cool stuff. I was kind of fascinated at how it crumbled, like
Yes.
how it fell.
Right.
You know, and it
Like
was
the
interesting.
Colosseum itself, or
Well,
like
just Rome in general.
Yeah.
Like, how did you fuck that up?
Yes.
You know, how did
Well,
that fall apart? And parts of Gladiator 2 were hinting at the fact that this thing is going to
Yes.
fall.
I wanted to talk about this actually.
And I
yeah.
thought that was perhaps a more interesting angle to go to, which is like how you handle this as Rome falls.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
I think especially watching it in comparison to the other one, like the way they portray Rome and the way they portray the Colosseum in the first one, it's like grandeur and it's like spectacular, and
Yes.
they're like in awe of like the Colosseum itself because of how big it is and all that stuff. In this one, when the gladiators first arrive in Rome and they see the Colosseum, it's like everything's filthy. Like all the buildings are like falling apart. They've been held up by scaffolding. Like there's beggars in the streets. They comment on how bad it smells.
Yeah, that's
You know,
interesting.
It's like
okay,
they've
so
like flipped it and they're like, even if you look at like the costume design, if you compare the way Commodus dresses as an emperor as opposed to the way the
Twinks.
the twink emperors in this one dress, like all the luster's gone. They're like so much more stripped
Yeah.
down and so much more simple.
Yes.
You know?
because it was interesting to hear that for many years after the Roman, empire had failed, had fallen, like vagrants were living in the Colosseum.
Yeah.
They sort of used it as like a big fucking dorm
Yes.
at one point. So yeah, it was interesting how it sort of fell.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Also, like, I think there's this thing of like, oh, the Roman Empire fell in like a week, but
No,
it took
it
like
was
it
Probably about 100 years.
it took like 200 years
Yeah.
where that Rome was in decline.
Yeah,
So it's like
interesting.
they still botched it.
Yeah, well, okay. They still could afford fucking sharks in the arena.
Yes.
Okay, so that to me felt a bit silly, but great. Okay, so you can see it in the trailer, so we're not giving
Yeah.
much away. But one of the battles in Gladiator 2 involve filling the arena
Yeah.
with water and them sort of fighting on boats,
Yes.
but in the water are fucking sharks.
Yes.
Now you say that they certainly filled it in the past.
They would flood it, yes. They would fill it
Okay.
with water and they'd have like crocodiles and hippos and stuff.
Where'd they get the fucking hippos?
They were, well, I mean, think about how far the Roman Empire went all the way to like Egypt.
Yeah, okay.
So
So
they would, like-
they brought the hippos
Yeah,
in from
they
there.
would stuff them on a boat and then bring them back.
Oh god. Because
But
I
it-
just
yeah.
at that point I was like, this is a bit silly. I also realized I can't order sea bass without thinking of Austin Powers. Have we spoken about this?
What?
No.
Every time I hear like sea bass on the menu, I
Yeah.
always think of ill-tempered mutated sea bass. Because remember, he wanted sharks with freaking
Yes.
laser beams attached to their heads.
Yeah.
That was how he wanted to kill his victims.
Yeah. I always
Dr.
think of
Evil.
Jurassic Park.
What's that?
I always think of Jurassic Park when you say sea bass.
Oh, yeah?
Chilean sea bass. It's on the menu. It's what they eat when they're They have their little "let's shit all over Hammond" scene.
Okay, I don't remember that. Interesting how Seabass is linked to
Yeah.
all these movies. But no, I remember hearing the other day. I've got folks in my life who have a big koi pond, and they were talking about how the koi are going to die if the little oxygenator doesn't work in the
okay.
tank. And I was like, what? I thought fish just fucking live in water, but the fish will die if there's no like
oxygen.
oxygen
absolutely. That's why
pumping in the water.
when they're drawing water in through their mouth and releasing it through their gills, they're like pulling the oxygen from the water into their bodies.
But I guess in the wild, there's probably stuff in the water that's naturally making oxygen.
Yes.
There'll be
Sure.
like algae
Yeah.
and shit that's making
Yeah.
oxygen. So
That's coral reefs. And
we have
stuff.
gotten so off topic.
That
We're
is
talking about
hectic.
Gladiator.
No, but this is the thing: is that how did the fucking shark survive in the Colosseum if there's no oxygenator?
I don't
So
think they care
just-
about whether or
they're
not the
just
animals
swimming
survive.
around, getting like dizzier and dizzier,
Yeah.
and until eventually they just float.
I did pull up a research on
Okay,
this.
let's hear it.
And absolutely, there were no sharks in the Colosseum.
Yeah, I mean-
but they did throw horses and bulls into the water.
Right.
But apparently,
Jesus.
like that means it must not have been deep enough for them to have to swim.
Right.
So they would like walk around, but then they'd also fill it deep enough to put boats in, so that they would have
Right.
like these ship wars.
Insane.
It's wild.
about
That
the-
sounds messy.
You think about the logistics of that.
Yeah.
Did they ride rhinos, Cole?
Oh,
Can
no, I need to
anybody
check this.
ride a rhino?
I doubt they rode rhinos, but I'm sure they had them. That was actually a scene that was from the original Gladiator, but they cut it for budget.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a good
You
fact.
can find like the storyboards and stuff for it. I was early on in the movie. There's another scene where they fight other animals. They fight baboons, and I was like, "Ooh, the CGI is a bit ropey. I'm a bit concerned."
It was touch and go.
Yes, but then the rhino, I was like, "Holy shit, that was
incredible.
That's like a photorealistic rhino.
It's a good-looking rhino.
That was a handsome rhino.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous rhino, man.
Okay. Any other big thoughts on it? I mean, my feeling was like, why did this need to get made? Like, it didn't feel like there was a dying need to tell someone's story that was a chapter left
Yes.
unturned.
Yeah, because they didn't set up the need for Lucius's story at the end of the first one, right?
Yeah.
So we kind of just forgot about Lucius, but then now we're telling that story, and I'm not mad that we have it.
No.
No,
You know?
that was the feeling. That's why I was left a little. I couldn't quite articulate myself after watching it. I was like,
Yes.
it's a big ass cool like movie.
I think
And that's
the big
thing, like
yeah, no,
coming
go for it.
from Gladiator, like a film that's
Yes.
that massive and had such a cultural impact. Like it's quite legendary for all of us.
Yeah.
I think that you're never going to like get a bit of that magic again with a sequel
Yeah.
because it was just that massive. But it's fine that we have one.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
You know? Like no complaints.
I think the like central thing that people are going to be missing is it doesn't have a Russell Crowe. It doesn't have like a Russell Crowe, and it doesn't have that like central character that everything kind of hinges around.
Yeah.
I think that's the kind of thing that this is missing. Like we were saying, it feels like that character kind of exists in this movie, but as two characters. It's
Yes.
Paul Mescal and
Paul
Mescal
Mescal, yeah.
and Pedro Pascal.
Yeah.
Those two characters kind of both fulfill like
Yeah. What was that
Maximus's
one
role,
sort of
yeah.
mighty one?
Exactly.
needed more Pedro Pascal.
Absolutely.
I think we always need more.
Yeah, exactly.
We need more of him every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My other issue with it was, and I can't discuss without giving away like spoilers.
Yes.
But the turn that Paul Mescal's character makes, where his motivation changes,
Yes.
is kind of just in service of the plot.
Yes.
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
We needed a scene with him and Pedro Pascal's character
Absolutely. Having a
before
chat.
things went down. Yes,
Yeah.
we needed like a scene between
Yes.
the two of them. Yeah.
And they fight in the
when
trailer,
they-
so they fight in the trailer, so we know that
Yes.
they fight.
Prior
so, like,
to that fight.
basically, in the fight, there's a character change that happens for Paul Mescal's motivation, and you just sit there going, nope, I don't believe that for a second.
No.
And then the climax just falls flat because of it.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree.
I was left at the end of that movie when he did his big heroic
Yeah.
battle talk to everyone.
Yeah.
I was a bit like, meh.
You know what it is? It's a real Force Awakens of a movie. In that it's a legacy sequel to a movie that came out like 20 years earlier, but they're playing it very safe.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They're like following a lot of the same beats, picking up a lot of the same things. It's like they feel like they need to like remind people because they're already talking about Gladiator 3. Ridley Scott's like, we have the idea for Gladiator 3.
Yeah.
And it feels like they felt like they needed to like reintroduce people into this world in like a safe, approachable way.
The one is
Okay.
more manufactured when the other one was an organic thing.
So now we're coming in with our subversive sequel, like The Last Jedi.
Let's hope.
Oh,
I'd
that'll
love
be
to
cool.
see that. Hey, do you guys know about the other sequel to Gladiator that they not almost made? It was never going to get made.
What?
Okay.
But so
Yeah,
Nick
Oh,
Cave,
I heard about this.
Nick Cave, who's an Australian musician,
Yeah.
Russell Crowe went to him and was like, "Write me a Gladiator sequel." And Nick Cave was like, "But you died." And Russell Crowe was like, "That's your problem." So
Okay.
Nick Cave came up with a movie called, get this, Christ Killer,
Okay.
where it was going to be about Maximus stuck in purgatory and he's resurrected by the Roman gods to kill Jesus to end Christianity before it like overtakes the like Roman religions.
It's a big swing.
Yeah, which also doesn't, like people have pointed out, it doesn't make any sense because the first movie points out that it starts in 180 AD. So it's
So
like
after
almost
Jesus is
200
dead.
years after Jesus is already
But
dead.
does he go to heaven to kill Jesus? Because Jesus went back to heaven.
No, he's got to time travel as well. He's got to go back in
Yeah,
time.
exactly.
Like, yeah, that
Kill
was his
Jesus.
idea. And then it was going to end with Maximus. You're going to have like a montage of Maximus fighting in like the Crusades and World War II and all these things. And eventually it was going to end with him working in the Pentagon because he's just like stuck on Earth now
Interesting.
forever, just like
That's
fighting
cool.
wars.
One of the
Bonkers.
one of the nicest stories I heard was when Russell Crowe was, I think after Gladiator,
Right.
was traveling in Rome and was visiting the Vatican City with his family.
Okay.
And they went into the Sistine Chapel, which very famously is dark.
Mm.
I've been lucky enough to see it. Because they don't want to put the lights on because it could damage the artworks.
Yeah.
But the person put the lights on
Oh, okay.
for Russell Crowe, and he was like, "What? Like, fuck! Like, you don't have to do that." And he's
Yeah.
like, "Anything for Maximus Aurelius,
Decimus
whatever."
Meridius.
Decimus Aurelius. Yeah.
It would be great if he was like anything for Russell Rock.
Talking about Nick Cave, Zam and I realized that we were both in Manchester at the same time.
"Oh shit!
And
Good
we're
old
like-
Zammy, a friend of mine, is overseas."
Yeah. And we were like, dude, let's go for brunch. I'm going to London tomorrow because he was like also doing it. But then he was like, no, he's going to go watch Nick Cave the
Oh.
following night in Manchester.
Oh,
So that's a weird segue. I
Yes.
was like, oh, that happened to me recently.
Tell us quickly about some of the movies you watched when you were away.
Oh, yeah. The best movie I watched was on the plane to the UK.
Cool.
Two things. One was I saw the TV Glow.
Yeah, I've been wanting to watch that.
Same.
Man.
Dude.
Fuck, it's on my
And
list.
I'm
eh?
so worried I'm going to do that thing where you hype up a movie too much and everyone will be disappointed by it.
No, you
Um,
you can't hype it up enough. Parents
I like-
spoken about it. A lot of
Yeah.
people have said this is the sleeper hit of the year.
Yeah.
I had a spiritual experience watching this movie. I don't know if it was the like bathing in the experience of going to the UK again to watch Dream Theater and living my best life.
Yeah,
and
the
then
excitement
having two
of the
glasses
overseas.
of wine on the plane.
Yeah.
I don't know what the deal was.
No, but we've said this on the video store that the altitude can heighten your emotions.
Yes.
Absolutely, it was insane.
Okay, so the movie's called I Saw the TV Glow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I think it was like one of the most challenging, interesting, science fiction, emotive. It's like the Matrix with like 10 times better characters.
Some
I was-
some fear I have, sorry, just before we get into it, is
Yeah.
that I know that, especially for the kind of movies I want to watch, so there's a bunch of like, maybe sort of more adult themed, perhaps a bit violent films
Yeah.
that are on the plane. I know they edit them.
Yes.
And I'm afraid of picking those kinds of movies on the plane because I don't actually know whether I'm watching the final cut.
Yeah.
Because they definitely cut things out because
Yeah.
you can't have a little kid looking over and being like, "What the fuck?" But
Yeah.
I Saw the TV Glow, is it a bit adult themed?
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah. So do
Absolutely.
you think you watched the proper cut?
I actually don't know.
You don't
that
know.
thought never
But
entered my mind.
Sure,
Yeah.
but I mean, either way, it was an amazing movie, which just tells you that perhaps at the core of it was a
Yeah.
really good movie.
Yeah.
What is the back of the box on that?
The back of the box is, let me see if I can remember, is that there's kind of this disaffected teenager in a town that discovers another, like, lonesome, what do you call, like, outcast from society.
Nice.
Yeah.
And they both link through this TV show that's about these two teen witches that, like, kind of solve mysteries together.
Okay.
That's the gist I got from it.
Okay.
And they're obsessed with this TV show. He's not allowed to watch it. She's in an abusive relationship. Then, for some reason, they kind of disconnect
Right.
and they grow up, and then they realize that, I don't know if actually this is a spoiler, but it has to be part of the hook, is that basically they are the characters in the TV show and they were captured by the villain and made to live a normal life
Right.
in this dream state.
Okay.
And that's where the Matrix tie comes.
Yes.
That's all I'm going to say about it.
Okay.
Interesting. Speaking of dreams, one of the films I watched on the plane, but I wasn't able to finish, which fucking annoyed me.
I hate that, dude.
They should actually have someone said this on the internet the other day. There should be a category of movies on the plane that just say films that you can finish before we land,
Yes.
and it can update like by the minute,
Yes.
taking out sort of your options. But I started watching Dream Scenario, the Nicolas Cage movie where everyone starts dreaming about him. Fascinating movie. I don't.
Really?
Have you guys seen it?
No.
No, they
Okay, because I need to
friggin-
see the end of it now.
Yeah, they didn't distribute it here because they said no one would buy tickets.
Yeah, no, it's odd. It's
Yeah.
lacquer arty and weird,
Right.
but it's a great play on what it means to go viral.
Okay.
What it means to be a person who just becomes like, you're a normal person and then the whole world knows about you, and what that does to you. So I think it's, I need to see the
That's
ending.
Cool.
That's
But,
rad.
Okay, what other movies?
I went to the Odeon in Milton Keynes,
Okay.
which was like crazy expensive, spending in rands. And I watched The Substance.
Okay,
With
so
Demi
now
Moore.
Perrin wants to talk to you about The Substance. So
Okay.
we need to do perhaps next week.
Yeah.
We'll have a chat about it.
You guys can have a good chat about it. I started watching it.
Yeah.
I got to because I put in my eye patch and been watching it here at home because it never came to South Africa and
Yes.
it's not available in South Africa. I watched it in little bite-sized portions, and so far I've gotten to the point where the chicken bone comes out of the belly button,
Okay.
and so
Yeah.
I've,
You're getting into the meaty stuff.
I'm getting into the the real
the
fucked up
David
stuff.
Cronenberg
Yeah.
fucking body horror.
But I think we must save a little bit of that
Cool.
for
Cool.
you and Perrin to have a good chat.
Absolutely.
I do think it's interesting that the filmmaker, who's female,
Yeah.
has recently pulled out of a prominent film festival
Oh, okay.
because of misogynistic comments that the festival director made.
Right.
One or two other people have pulled out, and so there's a little bit of a cancelling
Yeah.
happening.
Okay.
And this filmmaker of The Substance was like, my movie very much speaks against, these kind of misogynistic
yeah,
males.
he's like Dennis Quaid
Yeah.
in the movie, basically.
Yeah. And so we're out.
Nice.
The one thing I saw which was very funny about The Substance was someone saying, despite this being a disgusting body horror, the worst part of this movie is watching Dennis Quaid eat prawns.
Oh my god,
And I've watched that scene and I'm like, this is disgusting.
this is stuff.
They
It's
just
like
go
a super
straight
wide
up
lens, like in his mouth.
in his
basically.
mouth. There's this guy like fucking eats
Jeez.
these prawns. It's
Yeah.
gross.
It's like
just
you'll-
sets up your appetite being
Like
lost.
basically,
throughout
what,
this
at the
movie.
end of that movie, you'll be like, "Oh, men are trash." That's what happens at the end of the movie, basically.
Okay, we'll save that chat, but that's cool.
Then, when I was in Glasgow visiting my friend Ian
Yeah.
and meeting his little 3-year-old girl for the first time, which was wonderful.
Adorbs.
She was so nice. I went to go watch Nosferatu, the 1922 Nosferatu, at the Grosvenor Theatre in Glasgow.
Okay.
Yeah, and you sent me pictures, which I was very appreciative of.
A very cool little old school theatre. It was also like a tiny theatre, maybe twice the capacity of the Bioscope, I think.
Okay, cool.
Lower ceiling, like far more, I think, classic in its decor.
Right.
With little lamps in
Yeah.
between like every two seats kind
Oh,
of thing.
cool. Like a little
And-
red velvety place.
It was such a cool experience to watch Nosferatu in a cinema packed full of people.
But this so this is the older Nosferatu. This
I think
isn't
it's like
the...
the first vampire movie ever made.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like Nosferatu, an adaptation of Dracula.
Right.
All the same characters. You can see the same story happening there, but it's so funny watching like Mina Harker. I don't know what their names are in the movie because they changed it.
Yeah.
And also Robert Eggers' Nosferatu film coming out now uses the character names from that Nosferatu, not from the Dracula book.
Oh.
But I can only remember the names from the Dracula film. And Mina Harker is like sitting there in the window looking like a beautiful woman,
Right.
looking at the flowers like, ha, ha, ha. And then her husband, Jonathan Harker, walks into the room, like sees her in the window, picks flowers from the garden because he's like, oh, my wife is so beautiful. And they're not saying anything like this. This is all in their faces because
Yeah.
it's a silent movie. And he runs into the room. There's like 30 seconds of him just looking at his wife and being amazed at how beautiful she is. And everyone in the cinema is like hacking out laughing. And also, like when Dracula Nosferatu lands in England, he carries a coffin with him because he has to carry the soil. And you just have this wide shot of this dude, this vampire walking holding his coffin, and everyone's packing out laughing.
Just
in
because the
cinema.
scene's sort of
It's like ridiculous
it's
and
going on
aged.
for too long.
And this was like the height of horror in 1922.
Yes.
But nowadays you watch it and you're like, this is so silly. This
Yeah.
is so dumb. But it's like, it's cool to have that experience. And I
Mm.
would highly recommend it. Like if there's an
Cool.
opportunity to sit in a dark room with like 50 strangers and watch Nosferatu.
Well, maybe we can happen here at the
It should.
Bioscope. I think we should do that because traditionally we always screen these kinds of movies ahead of reboots
Yeah.
or sequels and things happening. So Nosferatu, the modern one, isn't coming to South Africa. I have tried with the distributors. I understand their trepidation or issues or problems, but it doesn't look like it's coming, which is a problem. It seems like this new Nosferatu is getting interesting reviews. It's people are saying it's not shit. They're just saying like it really goes there. That's what seems to be the review. It's got Johnny Depp's daughter in it.
Mm.
No, Lily Rose Depp.
Yeah, and it seems like it seems like
She's
it's
getting award hype for that role as well.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe there's some, I don't know, maybe these films become more available in time
Yeah.
and like maybe they'll be able to take the risk on it.
If it gets nominated, then they'll bring it here.
Yeah.
That's how the South African distributors work.
maybe, hopefully, let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm busy reading, speaking of these like old-timey horror things,
Yeah.
I'd love to take a moment to say that I'm reading Frankenstein.
Oh, cool. Frankenstein's
cool.
great.
yeah,
dude.
have you guys read it?
Yeah,
No.
I
Okay,
have.
you've read it, G-Force. So yeah, I'm working my way through a bunch of classic books.
Cool.
I'm really enjoying it. It feels like a very like late 30s, 40s exercise
Mm.
to read all the books that you like should have read.
I started that this year and failed.
Oh,
But
really?
I get you.
No, it's a good place to be because a lot of these books were the kind of books that could have been subscribed to you in high school.
Yes.
We didn't get them. And so it's cool to come at them as an adult where it's like,
Yeah.
I want to read 1984.
Mm.
Yes.
I finally got around to reading Metamorphosis,
Okay.
the Kafka
Yes.
short story. I remember a very cool person in varsity being like, "You got to read this," and I like didn't. And
Right.
now I've got the
Like-
time to do it,
Yes.
Crazy.
and I'm really enjoying Frankenstein.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think it's
It
solid.
wasn't the story I thought it was going to be.
Mm.
We only really know the moment
Yeah.
where he sort of, it's alive. That's what we kind of, I think, is in everyone's head, right?
Yeah.
But this,
Absolutely.
it's that part when he creates the monster is small.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I made the monster and he ran away, and you're like, what the fuck? What's the rest of
Yes.
this fucking story about? And then it's about him being tormented by this character. So I don't know whether you know this, Cole, but it's like, so he's a scientist. He's a young man. He
Oh, yeah, I
goes
know the
off.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Creates this monster, but then this monster just fucking ducks.
Yeah.
And then the monster sort of like realizes the world's never going to want him or
Yeah.
appreciate him. So then he tracks down Frankenstein and goes like, you got to make me a partner so that I can live with someone. But he doesn't want to do this abominable thing again.
Yes.
What's the fucking word I'm trying to say?
Abominable.
Abominable. And then this monster sort of slowly makes his life a living hell.
Yeah.
Like that's the point of the movie. I mean, of the story.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to read it now, and I'm excited because Guillermo del Toro has finished wrapping
Yes.
the
That's
filming
cool.
of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
See, this is like a good program at the Bioscope to do because you could do Frankenstein, The Bride of Frankenstein, and the Robert De Niro Frankenstein.
Oh, right.
There was a Robert De Niro.
Yeah, he played
Frankenstein?
Frankenstein. I think Winona Ryder played The Bride of Frankenstein, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, there's a movie, dude.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I did something kind of similar to that years ago. I went back and reread all like high school set works. Because in high school, when you've been forced to read them, you just hate it because you
Yeah.
don't
Yeah,
want to do
absolutely.
it. So I
What were
went
some
back.
of those gems?
Tale of Two Cities is great.
Okay,
I
I've
love
never read
Tale of Two
Dickens.
Cities. Tale of Two Cities and Lord of the Flies were the two that are.
So Lord of the
my
Flies
gosh.
is next on my pile.
I love that
Lord of the
book,
Flies
dude.
is phenomenal.
I remember that book kind of feeling like it's got a weird pacing thing that happens throughout it. It's a short book, but it's kind of just this like lethargic building that's really slow. And then the final 2 pages happen and you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I can
It
look.
was just
I can look forward to
insane.
the final 2
It was
pages.
so cool. It
Thanks,
was-
Cole. I still haven't read the book. I'm
No, trust, dude. It's
fine.
It's a beautiful journey on the way there.
Yeah.
But Mary Shelley, who wrote
Mm.
Frankenstein, Perrin pointed this out. We didn't talk about it last week. She was 19.
Something like that. Yeah. She was very young.
which is wild.
Yeah.
When she wrote the book, and I think we've also mentioned this before. It was relatively unheard of to have a woman write a book at the time.
Let alone sort of invent a genre in a book.
She
Yeah.
like invented horror.
Yeah.
I remember talking to my friend Shayna about this, who like reveals a lot about the world that I don't understand to me.
Right.
I love those
And-
people.
Yeah, dude. Like great person to have dinner with and drinks.
Mm.
Her dad gave me their Italian coffee machine yesterday because they got a new one.
Nice.
So I've got like a proper coffee machine at home. It's dangerous. So he said, you have to use it like, every day. Otherwise, it's going to fuck up the innards of the machine. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to make my little Italian espresso in the morning.
I look forward to you being a more pretentious person.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. I got these beans roasted in Guatemala.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
Vietnam.
Sorry, guys, I'm going to be a little late. I'm busy percolating.
But she
What
said
did
to
she
me,
say?
only a woman could have written a book about a monster being estranged from society and not fitting in.
Right.
I was like, fuck, cool.
Okay.
In that day and age, like wild. It's like an interesting like way to think about
Yes.
it.
Sure. That does make you think.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other movies? Let's talk movies.
The last thing I'll talk about on the holiday is I you told me to go to the Prince Charles Theatre
Oh, cool.
in Leicester Square.
Yes.
Just like kind of where West End is.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's like
I don't
on the
really know West End.
Yeah.
I did, when I was a little kid, I watched Starlight Express on the West End,
Right.
which was a
Cool.
magical experience. But of course, remember when you were a kid and you thought your friend lived like super far away, and then when you were grown up, you're like, they were around the corner?
Yes.
Okay, so I have no idea where the West End is in London. But
Yeah.
but I discovered the Prince Charles once the bioscope was up and going, and I
Yeah.
realized there's this cinema in London that is very similar in frequency to the bioscope. Plays old stuff, does quote-alongs, sing-alongs. It's fun, it's geeky at the same time, but it's also very
Yes.
fun. So I made a point of going there, much like your trips, where it's
Yes.
like your trip involves watching movies.
Yes.
So I watched Everything Everywhere All at Once
Cool.
Oh, it's a
at
good
the
film
Prince
to
Charles,
watch there.
which was delightful, with a video store customer, Darcy, who did that really cool episode
yes.
with us on AI.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was real special. And then when you said you were going to London, I was like, Cole, you got to stop by the Prince Charles. Which very famously, when Prince Charles became King Charles, they've got this big marquee above their name, which they can put letters on. And their big sign said, "No, we're not changing our name." So
brilliant.
what did you watch?
So I was there during Halloween, so all the Halloween programming was up.
Cool.
Yeah.
And there was a partnership with the Prince Charles Theatre for this famous, I can't remember the name now, beer brand that I saw all over the UK. And they also had an ad at the start, like this 5-minute animated short film that would play at the start of every film.
Oh, cool.
Damn, I wish I remembered the name. Sorry, guys. Someone will know. But I watched Nightmare on Elm Street because I was like, this is a classic I've never watched.
Yeah.
Cool.
Maybe it'll be cool to watch close to Halloween. I took my friend Brendan Salsa with. And yeah, it was terrible.
No, yeah, you
best
said
thing-
that,
yeah.
and I never watched Nightmare on Elm Street when I was a kid.
Yeah. Same.
I then watched it as an adult, probably about 20 years ago, because I've been an adult for more than 20 years.
Hectic.
At the start of my adultness, I remember being in New York. I was like sort of 20, 21, 22, and I watched it at a friend's apartment, and I was like, "This is fucking great."
Okay.
Okay, so for you, it wasn't cool.
I didn't get
This
it.
is Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
This is an early Johnny Depp where you see his tummy because he wears
yeah,
that
it's
sort
the
of
best
like
part of the
weird.
movie.
He wears that weird like sort of football top,
Yeah.
and he gets sucked into his bed. I don't remember it sort of slapping hard, but I remember it being like, okay, this is still cool.
I think maybe the problem is I've watched Freddy versus Jason
Oh yes.
or Jason X. Like I've watched these movies before I've watched this, and I think I've watched quite a few of the clips on movieclips.com on YouTube of like some of the
Okay.
deaths and in the remake.
Yes.
So the impact of it was kind of lost. I mean, I was trying to appreciate it for the fact that it was low budget horror.
Yeah.
Wes Craven's like pioneering low budget work.
Yeah.
And I couldn't-
Yeah,
couldn't-
I just remember someone making it better for me by saying, okay, so when these folks go to sleep, this is where this guy is, and
Yeah.
he's sort of killing them in their dreams.
Mm.
And he's sucking them into the bed. And I remember someone pointing out that what made that movie so smart is that the bed was always the safe space. You know, the monsters were
Yes.
under the bed or the monsters were in the cupboards
Yeah.
when you were a kid. The bed was always the place you could hide. And what made this movie scary in the 80s when it came out, it was 80s.
Yeah, it was
eh?
like early 80s.
was that you were sucked into this bed.
Mm.
You know, what should have been safe was not.
Yeah.
But this is the start of like the final girl. This is the start of like using the colors. So she was always in blue, and blue is sort of represents the virginity and her being this kind of pure person.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of like smart horror signifiers and things that.
Yeah, I mean, like
that
maybe the
movie
problem is I've
started.
watched Scream before I watched Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah,
And Scream's
perhaps.
parodying it, you know,
Yeah.
so it's like tainted the
Yeah.
experience of it. But like, yeah, cool movie for its time, I suppose.
It's one of those ones where if you we've spoken about this, the movies you watched when you were too young to see them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you
Yes.
watched that when you were too young to see it,
would've been
especially
fucked.
at the time,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it would have messed you up. But I think it's more like its legacy is more interesting than the movie itself.
Exactly.
Like it's a very
Absolutely.
influential film.
Absolutely. 100%.
There's a YouTube channel called The Bad Movie Bible, and he goes and looks at movies, and then he'll take like Nightmare on Elm Street, and then go and find all of like the movies that like it influenced and ripped it off, and were knockoffs of that. And he did one on Nightmare on Elm Street. And it's interesting to see like how many movies like straight after it came out,
Yeah.
there were just like dozens of movies that were like imitating it because of how successful it was.
Yeah. Any other movies?
Not from my side.
I suppose I can talk about. I watched Brothers on Amazon Prime and Women of the Hour on Netflix.
Okay.
I don't know
Cool.
if you guys have watched either of those or spoken about them.
Watched Women of the Hour. We actually screened it at the Bioscope for a brief week
Okay.
just before it came out on Netflix. I then watched it on Netflix. I thought it was okay.
yeah.
It was a little bit jumbled and a little bit weird.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
a little all over the show. So I don't think it quite needs too much time. But what was Brothers like?
Disappointing because
Okay.
it has a stacked cast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Marissa
Peter-
Tomei, Glenn Close, Peter Dinklage, Josh Brolin, Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
you're like, oh fuck, this is going to be a cool little like kiss kiss bang bang
Yes.
comedy of errors.
Nice guys, kind of.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And this you can see the actors are like kind of doing a great job.
Yes.
But the script is just never elevating the comedy to the point where it's actually funny.
Okay.
You're kind of just on the cusp of a laugh
Right.
throughout the entire film.
I know that feeling. Yeah.
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 Okay,
It
but
just
that's
wanted to
now
be good.
that's now on Amazon.
Yeah.
Okay. Over on to TV shows.
Sure.
I think it's just worth a little mention. This is all little light and somewhat more fluffier content, but Tracker Season 2 has started.
Oh,
This
right.
is on Disney Plus.
Yes.
This is what we call a fallish sleep show here
Yeah.
at the video store, which is those shows that don't necessarily, blow open your mind or, keep you up at night. It's a nice little whodunity type episodic show,
Okay.
but it's really slick. It's really good.
Cool.
It's a dude who is a bounty hunter. You'll recognize this handsome chap from This Is Us and a bunch of other stuff.
Okay.
Well, he's
And-
got a jawline, eh?
He's got a fucking jawline. No, he's a handsome dude, and everyone's quippy and he's got his sidekicks and his people who help him. But he it's a good heartfelt TV show where he rescues and finds people
Okay.
and gets the reward. Sprint.
Okay.
Which
What's
is
that?
Sprint is a Netflix sports docu-series, and it's about the sprinters. It's about the fastest people in the world, both female and male, focusing specifically on the 100 meters and the 200 meters.
Okay.
And we're now that far away from Paris that all that content can be now edited. And it was smart. They, for both Simone Biles, who's the famous gymnast, and Sprint, they released these kind of introductory episodes
Okay.
before the Paris Olympics. So it was obviously all part of a much bigger plan
Yeah.
to sort of set up these characters so that you could enjoy the Olympics and go in knowing these characters. Also because Netflix is clearly just cashing in on every single sport
Yes.
after Drive to Survive was so successful.
Yeah.
But what's nice is that now that there's enough time, we're now seeing the edited second season, so to speak, of both these shows. So I mentioned Simone Biles Rising and her Olympic journey, but now this is these guys and the story of what happened at the Paris Games. Because there was some cool controversy and there were some cool, interesting things that happened.
Okay.
The most notable of which was the Botswanan dude winning the 200.
Oh, okay.
Tebogo, that's his surname. And it was great to actually get him featured because this is really going to help his career. And then Noah Lyles, who's the big fucking flashy sprinter that everyone kind of knows, the guy who sort of jumps out and, we saw him sort of jump out and make a big splash. You know, when everyone else just sort of walks out and puts up their hand,
Yes.
says, "Yeah, that's me," and then they go to the starting blocks. He does this whole like jump around thing, and he was meant to win the 200, but he
Right.
didn't. He ended up coming third,
Right.
and he collapsed at the
Oh,
end.
no.
And then it was revealed he's like, "I have COVID,"
Oh,
and everyone
jeez.
thought like, "Well, then why the fuck were you competing?"
Yes.
And also, that also just sounds like an excuse.
Right.
But then this show actually shows like he knew he still wanted to compete. He still felt fine, but he still had it.
Yes.
He was keeping his mask on. It's cool. It's interesting. It's worth
Oh, that must
watching.
Suck, dude.
Yeah.
But it's a really interesting show because so much of that performance athlete competitiveness hinges on mental health.
Mm.
And both those shows, Simone Biles Rising and Sprint, focus on that. They're like, everyone can do it. Everyone could win. But it's about their head.
Mm.
And it's about where they were and how they got off that made them these champions.
Yeah.
And it's nice. There's a little kind of gooey moments. It's cool.
Cool.
It's a good watch. I think it's worth watching Sprint so that you can also see these characters, understand these people.
Yeah.
It's done well.
Nice.
That's cool. On the airplane to the UK after watching I Saw the TV Glow, stayed up. Like it was a night flight, so I was just like, I'm not sleeping. I'm watching in this uncomfortable seat. I'm watching the series called The Offer, which is on Paramount Plus,
Okay.
Okay.
which is about the making of The Godfather.
Yes, it's available in South Africa.
It's nuts.
I watched it. It was on DSTV,
Oh, so it's not on Showmax.
not on Showmax, as far as I know. It might be. We'll have a look.
Yeah, I'll
if
look
we
for it.
if we do find it, it'll be in the description. But it was on DSTV for a little, and I like did get started on it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I got started on it and I couldn't finish it because it wasn't on the plane when I came back. I was like so excited to watch it on the plane when I came back, but it wasn't there.
Oh yeah, that was my problem with Dream Scenario. I got halfway through. I remembered how much was left, and then on my second flight, which was still an Emirates flight,
Yes.
I was like, "All right, let's finish it." And this one didn't fucking have it.
It's the worst, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
would have
anyways,
thought the package would be the same.
like fantastic little story.
Yeah, Miles Teller is the producer.
Yeah.
Who puts this is all about the making of The Godfather. So the books come out.
Yeah, Mario Puzo is causing all this controversy with the real mafia who have a problem with how they're being depicted. And I think what it's setting up is showing how the mafia basically targeting the production and trying to stop it from getting made inspires the script writing of the production. So it's like
Okay.
there's a dead rat in Matthew Good's bed, which like inspires the horse head.
Yes.
And, you know,
Yeah.
it was an incredible little... I was enjoying it so much.
And the guy who plays Francis Ford Coppola is very well cast.
Very well cast.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's called The Offer. It's definitely a movie geek show, but it
Absolutely.
is a good story.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Magic, guys. Is there anything else that we want to talk about?
Oh, I wanted to talk about season 3 of Vox Machina, which I'm a month late on. I didn't know it was out at the start of October on Amazon Prime.
Okay, what is that?
So I think we've spoken about it before, seasons
definitely
1 and
have.
2, where its Critical Role are a Dungeons and Dragons YouTube channel made up of a whole bunch of voice actors that have basically been responsible for popularizing it.
Yeah.
I think in terms of how massive it is now, it's very largely because of YouTube channels like Critical Role.
What? So sorry. The channel is called Critical Role, and it's about Dungeons and Dragons.
So it's a bunch of voice actors playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Cool.
And there are like 4-hour-long episodes, and each campaign is like 200 episodes long.
Okay.
And you're watching these people play Dungeons and Dragons, and it gets millions of views.
Cool.
It's like incredible. And it got so big. Their first campaign got so massive
Yeah.
that they adapted it into an animated TV show on Amazon Prime.
Okay, and that is called Vox Machina.
The Legend of Vox Machina.
Okay.
It's actually called The Legend of Vox Machina. I hated how that made me feel saying that. And I think we're underestimating the fact that we're kind of living in like a second wave or like a golden era of television high fantasy. It's like we got Rings of Power, we've got Wheel of Time, we've got The Legend of Vox Machina. Arcane kind of plays in that space almost. It's more sci-fi.
Yes.
But it's still like we are getting such good fantasy, really fucking good fantasy. And also it's animation for adults.
Yes.
And it's a cool show like Clone Wars that we've spoken about before that kind of makes the case for animation not just being for children.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. It's like really fucking hilarious. It's very much for adults in terms of how violent it is, the sexual content.
Right.
And perhaps very
And-
much for people who play Dungeons and Dragons.
I'd say no. Like, you could not play Dungeons and Dragons and just watch a fantasy story.
No, sure.
Yeah,
But I mean, its core base will be people who love
absolutely.
Dungeons and Dragons,
Yeah.
and you're involved in a similar campaign that's lasted
Absolutely.
many years. What's your character's name?
Uwu.
Uwu.
Half-elf monk. Uwu feel.
And are you still playing? Are you still actively playing?
We played an
Dungeons
episode
and
yesterday. We played a session yesterday.
And what does that require for you? It's via Zoom, hey?
Yeah, because our DM or dungeon master, Reinhardt, is in South Korea.
Okay.
So we have to like all link up a time that's convenient for all of us.
Right.
With him being 6 hours ahead, and that's on a Sunday at 10 o'clock for us. You know, so then we play through. And yesterday I had to fight my fanatical mother, who's like started a cult to kill all magic users. And we finally confronted her yesterday after like 1.5 years, and I've been avoiding her, and it happened, and it was insane. It was so good.
I think it's safe to say that if you find a good set of characters and you've got a good dungeon master and you've got someone that can really pull the story, and if you've got a good context, you
Yes.
can play the story forever.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, you get campaigns that last decades.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's perhaps a little bit of a lightning in the bottle that you and your friends have found this particular campaign that worked.
Yes.
Because I think maybe if it failed, you could have just done it again and tried a new thing.
I mean, like,
But-
it's so dependent on people just showing up. Like,
Right.
Reinhardt is designing the story ahead of where we're playing.
Yes.
You know, and like trying to bring all our threads together for our different characters' backstories. And
It's interesting to hear about the work he has to do to keep his friends
Yeah.
together.
yeah, absolutely.
And so he actually has to be a creative narrative thinker to make your friend group game successful.
Exactly.
That's very interesting.
A lot of fun. Highly recommended. So watch Critical Role on YouTube. They have 3 campaigns.
Right.
I'd probably recommend starting with campaign 3 because it's the newest. It looks the best. Watch Vox Machina on Prime so you can see the results of the story that they're playing. It's very entertaining and very emotionally like satisfying.
Okay.
Yeah, I cried a bit in yesterday's episode of Vox Machina.
Have you ever played Dungeons and Dragons
No.
GeForce? No. No, that's skipped me entirely, but I have great respect for it. Magic.
Yeah.
Cool, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for the time. It was so lovely
Lovely.
to have you back, Cole.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be back.
Hey, oh, shit.
What?
You watched Book of Mormon.
I did watch the Book of Mormon.
Oh, cool.
You went and watched it
Yeah,
live.
like I had one more day in London before I flew back, and fucking, what was it? 6 hours before my flight, I went to go watch, which was like a gamble because Heathrow is like an hour and a half away from London by train. On the express, it's like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was like, I did not plan that well, and getting to Heathrow was fucking stressful. Oh my God. Getting from the West End on a train on the Bakerloo line to Paddington Station.
Where were your bags?
They were stored at a shop in Paddington, or like near Paddington Station, sorry. So like a bureau de change, whatever you call those places. There's a network of shops that like chain up your bags, and you put like number tags on them and you store them there for the day for like £10.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a bunch of lockers in Tokyo that do the same thing.
Yeah. So
where
I
you
found
can
that.
store your bags.
I went to London. I watched the Book of Mormon at a theatre. I wish I knew what the theatre was called. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, it was Prince of Wales Theatre, I think.
He got a lot of cultural venues named after him.
Yeah, right?
But I just to share my Book of Mormon experience on a nice big holiday. I got given like it was a combination of like birthday, Christmas, like everything together money to go and watch Book of Mormon in New York.
Right.
It was one of the more expensive tickets I think I'd ever paid. This is with me and the ex. And sitting down in that theater as it's about to start, and it also looks very similar to your picture.
Right.
So obviously the shows obviously look the same, but something about the theater looked very similar as well. I was sitting in that seat going, this is the most expensive thing I've ever bought in terms of performance.
Same.
I was like, this better be fucking good.
It better be fucking
This
good.
better be good.
It,
And
for
it-
me, for a mid-range seat, I like
Yeah.
deliberately priced it because I was like, oh, fuck, that's expensive.
Yeah.
I think like the most expensive tickets were like £250,
I see.
which is like fucking insane.
Mm.
And I got a ticket for like 2,000 Rand, which was
Yeah.
like a mid-tier ticket.
Yeah, no, I remember
It was
converting.
so pricey.
I converted mine, and it was somewhere between sort of 5,000 and 7,000 Rand a ticket. I mean, it's insane. And so there's a part of me that's
once
like,
in a lifetime,
this
you're just
has to be fucking good. And by the
Yeah.
end of it, I was like, oh my God, it was so
yeah,
good.
it was so funny.
I was like, I'm so glad that was good.
Yeah, it was
Hello.
incredible.
My name is Elder
Elder
Price.
Price, and I am here
Oh,
to
it's
talk
so-
to you about Jesus Christ. I can't
It's
remember
so
how it goes.
good.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
so good.
I mean, like they have Hitler in hell giving head or
Yeah.
getting head from a Mormon priest that's secretly in the closets in a dream. It's just like South Park on steroids.
Yeah, so this is for those who don't know, this is the very famous play that was devised by the creators of South Park, along with a Tony Award-winning show writer, and they created this show called The Book of Mormon, and it's all about Mormons and Mormonism. And so it gives you a great introduction where you're like, this can't be the case. And you're like, oh no, this is very much the history of Mormonism
Yeah.
Yes.
and how much they believe and what they believe. We must actually have you next week talk about the substance, and then you can also talk about Book of Mormon with Perrin,
Yeah.
who was raised Mormon.
Yes.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
It'll be very interesting because the Mormon Church also had a very interesting relationship with this play.
Yes.
Where they at times thought, okay, let's not fight it, let's lean in.
Mhm.
There's a couple of things that happen which were very interesting.
Yeah.
But it's all about the fact that they get assigned on mission, and our main character is so desperate to go to Orlando, Florida,
Yeah.
which he believes is like, you know,
the greatest place
the
on
greatest
earth.
place
Yeah.
on earth. But instead he gets assigned like deepest, darkest Africa.
Yeah.
I forget which country it was.
Uganda.
It was
Uganda.
It was Uganda.
Oh, so funny. It is so good. Okay. Speaking of funny missionary folk coming and knocking on your door, heretic? Heretic?
Heretic. Yeah.
How do we know how to pronounce it?
Heretic noun. Heretic might be. I don't think it is pronounced heretic, or maybe that sounds like an adjective.
Heretic.
Yes.
Because often
Heretic.
nouns, verbs, and adjectives. they're spelled the
Heretical
same.
is a word.
Yes.
Heretic.
Heretic.
Yeah,
is
they'll
the
have
way-
different
yeah.
pronunciations.
Heretic.
Heretic, yes.
Heretic is a movie coming out.
Heretic, first syllable.
There you
Heretic. Heretic.
Heretic
Yeah.
is a movie coming out at the end of the month.
Yeah.
Here in South Africa. It is a A24 horror
Mm.
that stars good old Hugh Grant in what he
Yeah.
is calling his what did he call it? This is his kind of like fucking weird phase. He like gave it a name
Right.
where like he's now just taking these like bizarre, crazy roles. He is the
It's his
person.
villain era.
Yeah, it's a bit
It's
of
like
a villain.
maybe, I don't know if it started with Paddington 2.
Could have, and then he was like, "I like being the bad guy."
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of pressure always being the sort of bumbly heartthrob.
Yeah.
To missionaries, I don't know whether they're Mormon. Do we know?
I can't
don't
remember.
But
think
they are
so.
religious
Yeah.
folk. Two women knock on his door.
Yeah.
Mm.
He's the guy who answers and leads them in a horrific thriller,
Yeah.
cat and mouse.
I think the setup is that he offers them in for pumpkin pie, and then they see that he's got a pumpkin pie scented candle. So he's not really baking pumpkin pie. And they try to get out, and then they're trapped.
Yeah,
And then there's a
right.
maze. Is there a labyrinth that they have to navigate to get out? To
Some-
test their faith?
I haven't seen it yet.
We don't know.
No,
We
the
don't
trailer
know.
was like, it's a good tease.
Yeah.
But yeah, as we said, we've got the screening coming up, and we
Mm.
want you to join us on that.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, basically, sorry, G-Force. We're gonna record the fact that it's coming in the beginning. We forgot to mention it. So this is us refreshing each other's memory on it. And so yeah, so it'll be cool that we're gonna get to the screening. We're gonna have
Yes.
you guys join us, and we're gonna all watch this movie together. Because as you can tell, we don't know anything about it,
Yes.
but it looks really good, and it looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Mm.
But yeah, that was a good segue from Book of Mormon to a Hugh Grant horror. Magic, guys.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for today.
Mm.
Thank you for working hard,
Yeah.
doing fuck all,
Such hard
just
work.
just talking shit.
Sweating.
Hopefully some customers come in later and this video store makes some money. Because right now it's not paying its way. Cool. Our home base is the video store. .co.za.
Yes.
And so yeah, chime in and let us know about Gladiator 2
Yeah.
and what you think of all the stuff that we've spoken about today.
Please.
All right. Cheers.
Okay, bye.
Bye bye.